Interesting. I've only been here like 24 hours, and I feel like I've been here a year.
Yeah.
Because I've had rain, I have heat, I've had cold, I've had 3 different layers taking on and off.
Yeah.
How do you? And you guys are still smiling. Rain is nothing. It's like you're sort of thirsty. Okay, now it's raining.
So we say rain is tomorrow's whiskey here in Scotland. So, but there's always a positive to there's always a rainbow at the end of the rain. So for us, without the water, we wouldn't have good whiskey. So yeah, it's part of the weather here. Unfortunately, we're not a tropical climate. But if you hold your glass up long enough, you get about the extra dilution of this. Yeah, exactly. So it's what this whiskey's made for. If you have enough drams, you'll forget the weather. Look, Iain.
This man right here is Iain. Master distiller,
Master blender
of Kamantow, and he brought me to this amazing place in Scotland, which is this river.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So this is the Packhorse Bridge. So this is a pretty iconic and famous part of Speyside, and this is the kind of foundation of the Glenlivet estate, which is where Tomintoul is based, and also where the very famous Glenlivet distillery is based.
So what is the river called?
So this is the Livet River.
Livet. What's the history behind Glenlivet?
Yeah, so
Glenlivet area.
So this whole area kind of used to be home to whiskey distilling for hundreds of years, and illegally the first distillery was established here in 1824. But there's evidence of stills and distilling here for hundreds of years prior. It's got all the ingredients you need to make good whiskey: soft water, source of fuel, source of actual kind of malt for distilling, and it makes some pretty famous iconic whiskeys.
Can we try it?
Of course we can. Yeah. So Tomintoul 16 is a very typical Glenlivet style whiskey. So it's from this area. The whiskies are known to be kind of soft, sweet, honeyed, buttery. So you can drink this for breakfast. Obviously, it's a little bit later in the day today, but it's lovely, soft and sweet styles of drams.
So can you tell people that they know nothing about whiskey something very interesting about how it developed, or what's the story behind?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose something I've tried to show you guys while you've been here is whiskey is the spirit of place. It's a product of the area, and I think that nowadays it's become this ultra luxury kind of item, but actually whiskey was originally here to kind of keep people warm in the winter and kind of have a source of community and a source of
a fancy thing.
No, it was there to kind of to keep people warm, to keep people social, and I think that sometimes we lose touch with that a little bit. So the reason that I've had you at the fireside, the reason I brought you here is to kind of show you the area that this whiskey comes from. It's all relative, but it's nice to drink it in its situ, and this is what it was. Yeah, this is what Scotsmen have been doing for hundreds of years. So it's nice to. Slanjava.
L'chaim.
Slanjava.
So I'm continuing the journey of learning about Scotch.
Yeah.
So where are we?
So
where were we?
We were in Tomintoul. We're now heading over the mountains to go to Glencadam Distillery, which is our sister distillery.
Here in Scotland, you call it whiskey.
Whiskey, yeah. So it's the water of life, Uskava.
Uskava.
Yeah, Uskava.
That's where the word comes from.
Yeah, Uskava. So Slanjava. But Uskava.
Still on the journey, lucky enough to meet Mr. Fergus at Glencadam. We spoke about the amazing varieties that Glencadam has brought to the kosher market, and maybe you can fill in things that I don't know about. I tell everybody that I know everything.
I thought you knew everything. Slanjava. That's what we say in Scotland. Slanjava. Now you're supposed to drink it. So you're talking about kosher whiskey. So kosher whiskey for Glencadam is very important. We fill the vast majority of our Glencadam into bourbon barrels. And a lot of them are what we call first fill bourbon barrels. They've come straight from Kentucky, have been shipped over to Scotland, and we fill them with what we call new make Glencadam spirit, which is straight from the still. And as you can see in this beautiful, beautiful warehouse, which dates back to 1825. 1825.
200 years, literally.
It's an original warehouse.
OG.
With, the atmosphere in here is absolutely incredible.
Love the smell.
And it's full of what you call the angel share. We've got lots of happy angels up there. So, filling the Glencadam spirit into these wonderful fresh bourbon barrels is really what makes Glencadam such a special whiskey when we mature it. Remember, it has to stay in there for a minimum of 3 years in a bourbon barrel in this wonderful warehouse located at Glencadam Distillery before we can call it Glencadam single malt Scotch whiskey.
Beautiful. And maybe we can help understand myself and the people you spoke that you enjoy the kosher market because they want to learn about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And that's what's really interesting for us because there's lots of different ways to communicate and promote a single malt brand. What we like to do is we like people to discover Glencadam, so to learn about it. We find within the kosher market, the kosher community, there's a thirst for knowledge. They want to learn, the consumer wants to learn, they want to discover. And Glencadam is perfect for that. I mean, you've been to this distillery today. It dates back almost 200 years.
And they're not looking to grow like
No.
this. They're looking
we
to
can't.
grow like
Yeah,
this.
well, we can't because we do everything by hand.
So for you, you'd rather have one customer that understands Glencadam's history and buys a bottle than 3 customers that just drink it and they forget about it.
And that's more valuable for us because they understand the brand and they're getting into the whiskey, the distillery. And ultimately what they will do is they'll start telling their friends, their family about it. And they'll help to spread the word.
And we're pretty
And
good
that's
with
what-
telling friends.
Exactly.
What does whiskey mean to you?
Well, it means everything for me. There's nothing like selling, making something that people have a real passion for and an enjoyment for.
I always
It's
say
great.
people,
I'm a very lucky person to work in this industry. Very lucky.
and I'm lucky to meet you and drink your fine whiskey.
Thank you so
But
much.
I always tell people when they tell me, oh, you're in retail, it's such as. I always tell people, most people when they shop by me, it's because they're celebrating something. They're in a good mood. They want to drink the bottle. They're
Exactly.
going to drink it with family. They're going to drink it with
Exactly.
friends. They don't have to. They want to.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Scotch whiskey versus bourbon whiskey?
Well,
I know. It's like
I need to be kind about this.
It's like I'm asking you bulbs and salon.
There are many great bourbons in this world, and there are many great Scotch whiskies.
Stop rolling your eyes.
But what we think that is special about Scotch whisky is the complexity within the taste profile of what we're trying to do with Scotch. Remember, the big difference is that bourbon you mature for 2 years in barrels. For Scotch, it's a minimum of 3 years. So it's an extra year aging. And of course,
to start.
and of course, we then bottle at various different ages. So this is a 17-year-old.
And we have seen a 45-year-old in the back.
And you saw a 45-year-old.
The older John.
Yeah. So, I think the big difference is really the complexity that you find within a single malt Scotch whisky versus a bourbon. I think that comes from lots of different factors, and not least wonderful places like this, where the temperature is fairly consistent all year round. It's perfect maturation conditions.
I love the water here.
Oh.
I want to tell people because we're talking about whiskey, but the water is better
Well,
than
water's
any
usually
water,
important.
any bottle of water in New York.
Yeah. But whiskey's about appreciation. Okay, whiskey's not about drinking to drink too much. Whiskey's about appreciation. It's actually taking what you have in the glass and taking your time to appreciate it and all the complexities and flavors that are in there. And by doing that, you get your full enjoyment out of drinking a single malt Scotch whisky. And what we like about it as well is understanding about the place where it's made and also the people that make it. There's a lot of passion, a lot of hard work that goes into making something like this.
So it's the quality about this spirit connecting to this spirit.
Sure.
That's basically it.
That's a good way of looking at it. Absolutely.
Slàinte.
Slàinte.
Wow. So if you want to connect this spirit to your spirit, you want to try Glencadam.
Absolutely. Slàinte. Slàinte.
So Moshe, you've had 3 days in Scotland.
Whew. I've been a year compared to the weather, but yes, it was 3 days and I learned so much. I've tasted lots of whiskey the last 20 years of my life, but what I learned in this few hours, 24 hours, this is amazing. I learned how sherry affects the taste. I learned how barrel affects the taste. I learned how the copper, how tall and how narrow, and how Iain can mess up things sometimes. Never. So I'll let...
You've got some Scottish humour to you. It's fine. I'll let you off.
And I love the Scottish humor. People were really nice to me, and sometimes I can be like, people say forward.
Yeah, it's okay.
And what they did is they leaned back. So I'm gonna let you wrap it up here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been a pleasure to have you, and a pleasure to have you guys along for our journey. I hope you'll come and visit us again sometime. I hope you've enjoyed both Tomintoul and Glencadam. We've looked at two very different distilleries, but under the same kind of family umbrella, and it's a pleasure to have you here, tasting whiskey in the spirit of its place. So
for me, what was the most amazing thing really is the hospitality, what Tomintoul and Glencadam gave me, and there's a reason why you guys are drinking their whiskey. You might think it's because of the packaging sometimes, or because I tell you in the store to get it, but there's a story behind, and these people are so warm. I don't even want to tell you, because then you're gonna come here and they'll be like, more sheets, too many people are coming, they'll take, but the hospitality, and I feel like I belong, I'm part of your family. I'm waiting for my visa, but I think it's coming. But for this reason, we're gonna take a pause now, and we'll be back.
Slanjava to that. Slanjava.